The reason why you're always on your phone and why you just can't seem to stop distracting yourself is not because you lack discipline. It's because you lack purpose. So think about it. Whenever a dude gets on a video game that he loves, so it could be Battlefield, Call of Duty, whatever it is, you've probably seen one of your friends who is just constantly addicted to their screen, but when they get on a video game, all of a sudden, like they lock in and they can lock in for 6 or 7 hours straight, just grinding on that game. Well, what that is that the video game has hijacked the dopamine reward system. That is, dopamine is the chemical that God gave us that drives us towards our goals. And your phone, corn, and video games all hijack that system to trick your brain into thinking that you're accomplishing something when really you haven't accomplished something. We get addicted to that. We use it to numb our pain, to escape our anxiety, to escape our depression. And what ends up happening? We don't actually accomplish anything in real life, which leaves us feeling lower and deeper and feeling more insecure. And so what do? We double down on the distraction, on the video games, on the corn, and on scrolling on your phone. So one of the best things that you can do in response to this is, sorry guys, one of the best things that you can do in response to this is take a break from these things, take a step back, and here's the key: feel the pain, face the pain, because a debt that you owe that you're delaying on paying is only a debt that is accruing. And so what is our debt whenever we're distracting ourselves? And I'm speaking from personal experience. I've spent so much time distracting myself in my life. So what is it that we're accruing? What's the debt we're accruing? We are accruing debt to our future self. So our future self is accruing debt. And so you can see this. Some guy may turn 30, look back and go, crap, I wasted my 20s. So now his 30-year-old self is paying the tab of borrowed time that his 25, 26, 21-year-old self borrowed already. If he would have locked in whenever he was 20 or 21 or 25, he would be, however many years it's been since he turned 30, ahead. So for you, you need to get to the point where you decide, I've had enough. I have had enough. But even then, that isn't enough. You need to get to the point where you've had enough, but you need to know where you're going. You need to know what you're actually supposed to do. You need to find clarity in your goals and in your purpose. And so that's what the 3 5s framework that we talk so much about here, that's what that is. Because as the quote goes, that I love to quote, the man who knows not to which port he sails, for him no wind is favorable. If you're drifting in the ocean and you're out there and you're like, all right, it's time to lock in. I'm just going to start rowing my boat. Well, rowing is better than not rowing, but what if you're rowing towards Antarctica? You're going to end up probably in a worse spot a couple years from now than you would be if you had just drifted. So we do love action, but we need action pointed in the right direction, action pointed with the right purpose. Where are we going and why? And so the 3 5s framework helps us inform this. So the first question you need to ask yourself is this: what phase of life am I in? So in the 3 5s framework, that is the 5 phases, the 5 columns, and the 5 traits. The 5 phases are the 5 phases of life that all men go through. Whatever phase that you are in will dictate what action you need to take. So if you're watching this, you're probably not in childhood, which is the first phase. But after that, you have cowboy, warrior, king, and sage. Those are the 5 phases of a man's life as taken by John Eldridge's book, Fathered by God. If you're watching this, you're probably in the warrior phase. So the cowboy phase is when you're just out there having fun. You don't really care about what's happening in your future, happening in your life. And so you're partying, or maybe you're not partying, maybe you're just wasting time playing video games and so on. After this comes the warrior. The warrior is like, I need to get my crap together. I need to start doing things in life that really, truly matter. And so the warrior, what he wants to do is acquire land, title, wealth, and reputation. Land, title, wealth, and reputation. Land being your domain of influence, your ability to influence other people. Title, which is the literal title that you carry with you. What is your title at work? What is your title amongst your friends? Are you a beta, or are you somebody who's a leader? Are you just an employee who's just scraping by doing the bare minimum? Or are you a leader in your workplace who's working his way up and working with integrity and honesty? These things affect us. Our title, we want land, we want title. Wealth, of course, that's monetary wealth, but that also means resources, any amount of resources. My dad wasn't the wealthiest man monetarily, but what he did hand me as an inheritance was his reputation in the community. And so because of that, I have been able to benefit through connection and get connections that help set me and my family up for success, because my father's wealth was his reputation. It was his relationship with other key people in the community and around the country at large. And then lastly, you have reputation. Reputation is pretty self-explanatory. What everybody else thinks of you. Do they think that you're honest? Do they think that you're loyal? Do they think that you're a hard worker? Or do they think that you're lazy and a liar and somebody who takes shortcuts and is unreliable? So land, title, wealth, and reputation is what you need to strive for if you're in the phase of a warrior. A warrior wants to expand his domain. And from morning until evening, he goes to war. He grinds. That's what he does. He has responsibility to one thing, and that is to himself and to his brothers around him. He doesn't have a wife yet. He doesn't have a kingdom yet. He's building his kingdom. And that's what all men who aren't married yet and don't have kids yet, those men don't have a kingdom. They are in the warrior phase. If you're beyond that, you're now married. Maybe you're married with kids. You are in the phase of a king. And so for you, I'll probably make a different video about it because you're in a different spot, but what you need to be doing is managing your kingdom well and ruling your kingdom well, and you need to know exactly what that means therein. So what does all of that do? Well, that tells you where you are in life, where you actually are in the ocean. Oh man, I'm adrift. I'm distracting myself. What am I doing? I need to wake up and I need to lock in. Okay, where are you? The phase of life tells you where you are and what now you need to do. So you need to now operate with the 5 traits. The 5 traits is strength, honor, courage, discipline, and responsibility. Strength, honor, courage, discipline, and responsibility. Those are the 5 traits of masculinity. You need to make those an integral part of your life and how you operate. You need to take all 5 of those traits into your work, into your school, into your relationships with God, with yourself, with your body, with your finances, with everything. Those are the defining masculine characteristics. If you find yourself insecure or feeling weak and feeling just like you can't compete in the world, it's probably because you have been shamed by our culture into thinking that those 5 traits are bad or somehow just necessary evils that you and me need to learn how to tame. That's crap. That's garbage. That's the feminist lie that's on its way out the door. You need to be strong in all areas, courageous in all areas, be disciplined in all areas, have responsibility in all areas. You need to bring those 5 traits. And then lastly, you do have the 5 columns. Okay, so the 5 phases tells you now, okay, I've woken up. I'm in the middle of the ocean. I now know where I am in the ocean. 5 phases. I now know how to get there, which is the 5 traits. Now I need to know what exactly am I building towards, and that is the 5 columns. Like, what are the specific areas where you're pointing those 5 traits? The 5 columns are the 5 columns that uphold a man's life. If any one of the columns are weak, more is demanded of the other 4 columns to hold up the weight of the man. If more columns are weak, then significantly more will be demanded out of the remaining columns. So the 5 columns are your mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial well-being. The 5 columns of a man's life. Physical is your body. your health? Are you in shape? Are you working out? Are you sleeping right? Are you feeding your body what it needs? That's your physical column. Mental is your wisdom and your knowledge. How are you expanding your knowledge? How are you sharpening your mind with wisdom? How are you practicing wisdom? You need to seek those things. Emotional column, that is your emotions. A lot of men think that the way to strength is to demolish the emotional column and pretend it doesn't exist. That's crap. That's the child's way. The man's way, healthy masculinity's way, is understanding emotions aren't good or bad. They just are. And emotions are actually my tool set that inform me of what's going on internally. If I'm feeling depressed all the time, that means there's a misalignment somewhere. We don't ignore that. We pay attention to that so we can address it. That's your emotional column. Your spiritual column, that is your spiritual life, your relationship with God, digging into scripture, going to church, finding a good community, and of course, your prayer life. And then lastly, your financial well-being. A man can have all those other things in order, but if he is broke, if he is in a ton of debt, then all the other columns are going to suffer. What finances do is they open up a pathway for all of us. So, all of that information to say this: if you're spending all of your time distracting yourself on your phone, whether it's social media or YouTube or pornography or any of these other number of things, video games that can distract us, what it is that you are running from your purpose as a man. You are running from your purpose as a man, either because you're scared of the responsibility, because you were never taught how to bear all of these things, or that you actually can bear all of these things, or because you were never taught these things. So you didn't know who you are, where you're going, or what you're supposed to do. And so what do? We distract ourselves from that pain of being lost. You need to figure out where you are. Which of the 5 phases are you in? And then implement the 5 traits, and then focus on implementing each of those in the 5 columns. And that gets you on the path to being aligned properly, so that way you can be in alignment with God's design for you as a man, and then ultimately with your design for him, or his design for you, what he's called you to individually. So that's what I would encourage you to do. That is the roadmap that you need to reference to figure out why it is that you're distracting yourself. Because ultimately, why do we distract ourselves? Well, it's in the phrase, distraction. We don't want to pay attention to something else. And so we need to face that discomfort, face that pain, process it, and figure out, what is this pain trying to tell me? And then take action with a concrete roadmap on what you're actually supposed to do as a man. And so if you need more resources on that, check out any of my other videos, or check out the link below where we go more in depth in that in our community, Sons of Strength. But until then, gentlemen, stick around. We talk about these topics every single day. We are here to reclaim masculinity, to save the West for the glory of God. Love you, boys.